Wait, remember the Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack? Or just Flapjack for short. It was a Cartoon Network TV show that aired between June 5th, 2008 and August 20th, 2010, spanning 3 gloriously weird seasons. A show in which I watched a fair bit of it when it was on the air due to it always fascinating me, from the aesthetic of the looks to the varying animation styles, and for the most part, the odd couple comedy of a trickster pirate and a naive boy whose mother figure is a whale. That was a sentence I just said. Yeah, the word interesting can't begin to describe what the show is, so we're gonna take a look at it, see what it was, what happened to it. This is one that I've been itching to revisit for quite some time. So welcome back, or hello for the first time, to the 25 Days of Fringemas, where I cover something interesting, nostalgic, or holiday related every day from the 1st of December to the 25th, in order to find that holiday spirit I lost nearly a decade ago. So if you want to be a part of this daily journey and help me find that good old jolly joy, subscribe and come aboard. The show follows Flapjack, a cheerful, friendly, naive little boy with a small green scarf and tiny sailor's cap perked upon his blonde curls, who longs for adventure out in the sea, but especially for the adventure of finding Candied Island, a magical island made entirely of candy, where there's lollipop trees and a lemonade sea. Listen, the theme song, while not my favorite of all time by any means, it's catchy and so perfectly sea shanty worthy that it just gets stuck in your head. In the world of Flapjack, candy is this greatly valued treasure everyone wants, from the high upper crust members of society to the salted crusted sea-bound adventurers. So to young Flapjack, and honestly most of the characters in the show, finding the fabled Candied Island is like the ultimate dream come true. A good example of how candy fits into the world of Flapjack is the Candy Barrel, a rough and tough bar-like restaurant that serves candy to the visiting sailors instead of alcohol. You can get pretty turned off some sugar, believe me. The Candy Barrel is run by Peppermint Larry, an old-timey barkeep complete with a white apron and a glass that he's constantly cleaning, and his wife, a woman made of candy, aptly named Candy Wife, who is rendered in this claymation style whenever she is on screen so it can contrast to the 2D styling of the rest of the characters. You can already see how the show plays with animation, and it's great, and sometimes terrifying. Enabling Flapjack's love of adventures and dreams of Candied Island is Captain Knuckles, a washed-up, once great, at least according to him, sea adventurer who is now a lazy, self-centered, and willing to do anything for a sweet piece of sugary candy pirate. Flapjack regards Captain Knuckles as his personal hero, with his love for the old pirate occasionally bordering on obsession. Despite often taking advantage of Flapjack's open nature, Knuckles does truly care for him, and will make necessary sacrifices to get Flapjack out of dangerous situations. But not all the time. He would quickly ditch the kid for his own selfish desires in a heartbeat, but only sometimes. Knuckles' body is almost entirely wooden, with his hands, legs, arms, and bottom, all having been replaced due to various accidents during his adventures. In spite of this, Knuckles maintains a pretty good reputation among his fellow pirates and seagoers. Flapjack is raised by Bubby, a caring, sassy, maternal talking whale who has happily taken up the duty of being both Flapjack's mother and his home, with Flapjack living in her mouth. Yeah, he just sleeps right there on her tongue. It's both charming and utterly repulsive. Bubby has raised Flapjack since she found Flapjack in a bed of seaweed as a baby with no parents in sight. She adores her adopted son, but disapproves of Flapjack's love of adventure due to the potential risk it poses him. She also hates Captain Knuckles, who she feels is a bad influence on Flapjack, often leading the young boy into danger. Despite all of her attempts to stop or put some distance in their friendship, they usually fall flat and are disregarded.
Coming up next, it's the Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack on Cartoon Network.
Despite Knuckles and Flapjack having big dreams of getting out onto the ocean and finding Candied Island, most episodes take place within the safety of Stormalong Harbor, a man-made island of docks, platforms, and a bit of land in the middle of the sea that the trio, including Bubby, call home. The wealthier citizens of Stormalong Harbor live on elevated piers with vegetation and sunlight, while the working and lower class live below in the grimy, crowded city where most of the interesting characters come to port up. Due to the harbor nature of the city, most of the inhabitants are transient sailors and pirates on their way to far-off lands, resulting in the city being heavily crime-ridden and full of sketchy people. Flapjack gets into a series of misadventures, and hence the title, across Stormalong Harbor, and on the seas predominantly in episodic fashion. Flapjack and Knuckles spend a good amount of their off time in the Candy Barrel eating candy, or trying to trick free candy out of Peppermint Larry, due to neither of them having, money. The show was created by Mark Thrupp Van Orman, a CalArts graduate who I personally think is a collective figment of our childhood imagination. Orman. You'll get that once you hear about his backstory. Van Orman worked as a storyboard artist and co-writer for shows like The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Camp Lazlo, and the Powerpuff Girls, with being a supervising producer of Adventure Time and Sanjay and Craig. Van Orman grew up in Panama City, Florida, dreaming about the life of adventure on the open seas. Eventually, Van Orman's family moved to Utah during the time, and Van Orman became very obsessed with old adventure novels, which in turn got him stuck on the idea of living off the land and sea, making a hut with his own hands. Following this desire, Van Orman began to work as a janitor, eventually getting enough money to buy a ticket back to Florida, purchase some potatoes and rice, and paddleboard out to Shell Island, an undeveloped island between the Gulf of Mexico and St. Andrew Bay. There, young Van Orman planned to live off sea urchins and other wildlife. Unfortunately for Van Orman, his Swiss Family Robinson dreams came to an end when he got badly sunburnt, started to low-key starve, and learned that the island was infested with rattlesnakes. These three things finally prompted Van Orman to return to the mainland. One failure wasn't enough to discourage Van Orman though, and a little while later he tried to live off the land again. You can never just learn from the first time. Now going to Mexico for a summer to live in the jungles. This attempt didn't go much better, eventually leading to Van Orman feeding himself by eating out of dumpsters in order to survive. Van Orman took all these experiences in stride though, considering each failure as an adventure in its own right, and using them as inspiration for Flapjack, while also pulling heavily from the old-timey adventure novels he always loved. Van Orman first pitched Flapjack to Cartoon Network as a concept of sketches and vague ideas in 2001. While this initial proposal was shot down, Van Orman used that feedback he received and the next 2 years to redefine the concept, working diligently until he was taken seriously. Van Orman voices Flapjack, taking over the role from Paul Rubens, who was cast at the part but never showed up to any of the recording sessions. Probably was busy at a movie theater of sorts or something, I don't know. During this part, Van Orman's real-life son, Leave, played live-action Flapjack. Oh, and Bubby's there in live action as well, but is not nearly as cute. The show overall had played with so many animation styles that at some point while watching this series, it just felt natural to see something different. I loved how it portrayed the look of the sea with the waves moving, or how traveling on a map looks. It gave it the feeling of a pop-out book, which helped it stand out compared to the other shows at the time. A lot of Cartoon Network shows love to play with how they can do animation. Chowder, The Amazing World of Gumball, the list goes on. But what was special is that while all these shows did that, they never felt the same for doing so. Each of them did it in their own unique way. Flapjack played off the visual jokes by switching without warning between a simple 2D cartoon style to a high-def, super realistic art or claymation models before quickly switching back. Title cards of the show were done in a claymation style with other bits of stop animation used occasionally throughout the series. These stop-motion portions were produced by Screen Novelties, a collection of artists that specialized in stop motion. If you were already filling up your brain with the lyrics of the show's theme song, there was an extended version of it that was only used once in the series during the musical special All Hands on Deck. When it came time to record this extended version, Modest Mouse lead singer and fan of the series, Isaac Brock, provided the vocals. While Candied Island is proven to exist before the end of the series, Knuckles and Flapjack being able to see it from space while they are trapped there on the moon in the episode Over the Moon, neither of them ever find it before the series wrapped. Well, Flapjack does manage to when the two of them try to jump down from the moon before the moon's gravity then pulled them right back into space. Flapjack was eventually canceled by Cartoon Network when they decided to change its target audience with its live action era. Honestly, I really enjoyed the series. It combines so much of the weird with the fascinating that it's hard to look away and not hit play on the next episode. For a visual perspective, it excels for the obvious reasons I've been gushing about this whole video. And from a funny standpoint, it has that SpongeBob energy about it that it just becomes too infectious to not watch. I love when a show can defy expectations. Looking at the title and seeing stills from the more odd moments in the show can be a big put-off for some. Mix that with what seems like a dreary, dark color palette that I wouldn't say incites a sense of joy, you have something that on surface level may not appeal to everyone. But for me, it truly worked, and I wish I had given this show more of my attention when it was on the air. So I guess the easiest way to put it is, don't judge a book by the candy on its cover, or something like that. I don't know. So what are your thoughts on the Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack? Did you love it? Were you just too weirded out by it? Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter, or else. I'll see you tomorrow with another video for my next day of Fringemas. Check out the playlist to keep up with the month, but until then, later.